This is Focus on Liberia. We dearly want to welcome you to our broadcast. Welcome and welcome. Today is Tuesday, and we are having a Tuesday special in this broadcast, and we can't welcome you enough. Sorry that it had to take us longer than usual to come face you. It's because we were having some technical difficulties in the back end. We are very sure that has been resolved. And so we are ready for business. And thank you for joining us. Hit that share button quickly. We need as many people as possible to join us in this edition of our program. Hey, we want you to be here because there is a gentleman in studio who is our guest, and he is telling us something that I am not buying, but he is telling us that is the way to go. I couldn't disagree more with him, and I want you to be here. Maybe you will share my disagreement, or you will agree with him. He is asking Liberians not to vote in the elections and also in the referendum. His reason, the system is corrupt. Doing so will mean that you are contributing to the very corrupt system that you are not benefiting from. So he said, why are you voting anyway? But hey, we have a democracy. That is the role of the people. Hey, he's here, and we got some questions for him. Dennis is set. He is comfortably seated. Let's get started, Dennis. Let's do this. Welcome, guys.
We want to welcome all viewers from across the globe, and we want to welcome Reverend Torley Kura. He's joining us from my former state, that's Massachusetts. Reverend Kura, welcome to Focus on Liberia. If you can unmute your microphone, and we say welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good evening.
Thank you. I've heard time and time again, your vote is your power. Vote. And anytime President Obama was speaking in the Abu, he said, don't boo, vote. Every time we hear there are tons of organizations encouraging people to engage in their civic duty, and one of those is voting. Reverend Torley Kura is here to tell us, do not vote. And so this is a message, it's a radical message, what it is. We have Reverend Kura tonight to explain. Reverend Kura, once again, welcome. Just a little bit about yourself and your organization, and let's get the show started.
So my name is Torley Kura. I live in Boston, Massachusetts. I was born in Tapeta, Nima County, and I've been living here since the Civil War started here in Massachusetts. My organization is Universal Human Rights International. The president is the Honorable Benjamin Swan, retired member of the House of Representatives for Massachusetts. And the executive director is Mr. Lawrence P. He's executive director. I'm founder of the organization. Now, I am really pleased and humbled to be here tonight to share with you my perspective. And, you know, everyone has a perspective, and even in any judgment call, there could be dissent. And so I'm ready to hear from people who disagree with me, but I'm sure majority of the people living in Liberia do agree with me about my proposal.
And Reverend Kura, before we get to your proposal, let's talk a little bit more about your organization, the work you've been involved in, and some of the successes and the challenges you've encountered thus far.
So when I came to this country, only 8 Liberians were allowed into this country as refugees. The United States of America has had a very long relationship with Liberia, but that has not translated into benefits for Liberian people. And so we had to establish an organization because there was no organization at the time doing advocacy for refugee resettlement. And so that organization was Universal Human Rights that was established specifically for that purpose. And some of our accomplishments, we had an 8-nation tour in the initial stage when there were thousands, almost 1.2 million Liberians in West African nations, people who had their relatives, their children, their spouses here in the United States stranded in refugee camps. And we were able to do a report on that trip That report went to Congress, and Senator Ted Kennedy and others were able to pick it up from there to move on to open the doors for Liberians to come to this country as refugees. And the temporary protected status, of course, was started by a gentleman from Massachusetts, Joe Moakley, and it was passed into law, and it started from 1991. The problem has been most of the other people who got temporary protected status were immediately given green card in 1992, etc. 54,000 Chinese. But Liberians continue to be denied that status until recently last year when Donald Trump signed the bill for Liberians to have green card, the Liberian Refugee Fairness Act. Even the Fairness Act is not fair because they're charging people $1,225 for a filing fee when Section 245I of the United States Immigration and Nationality Act exempts refugees from paying a filing fee for green card. So you have people who have been unemployed for decades have been told they have to pay a filing fee, which is in thousands of dollars. Liberians are still struggling in this country, and those are some of the things that we've been working on.
And Reverend Kura, you are the founder of the Free Liberia Movement, a participatory democracy project of the Universal Human Rights International for African Nations. It's because of the Free Liberia Movement, what you are proposing, that caught our attention, and that's why you are here today. So let's get the ball rolling right there. I would like the CA start that. We want to welcome all our viewers. This is Focus on Liberian. We are in conversation with Reverend Kura. He's calling on all Liberians to vote in this election and even further elections. His reasons, that's why we are here tonight. Mr. CA.
Thank you so very much. Dennis has just said it, and you have just listened to our guest. His organization has been in this advocacy in the line of democracy and issues of human rights. But today, we brought him specifically to talk about why he's saying Liberians should not vote. Well, he told us in short they don't benefit, so why should they vote anyway? But let's get started. He's here. I can be his spokesman. He can prepare. So, Reverend Kura, to get the ball started, you are saying Liberians should not exercise their democratic right. My question is, if they don't, how does it change their situation?
Well, what we are saying is not that people should not exercise their democratic right to vote. What we are saying is, in fact, Liberia is a colony of the United States of America that is yet to be liberated. Liberia is not a republic. A republic is a state where the citizens have supreme power, that the citizens and their elected representatives have supreme power. So it's not really a republic because in Liberia, the citizens have absolutely no power. All they do is vote. After they vote, nothing else they can do. They have no input in the legislation. They have no input in correcting legislation. They can write petitions, but the petition is subject to the majority rule of the lawmaker. So if you have petition and law, if you have 5 million Liberians to sign a petition and 25 or 100 lawmakers vote against it, that petition is dead. Liberians do not have absolute power. The Constitution, Article 1 says, all power is inherent in the people, and all free government derive their authority from the people. That is not the case in Liberia. And so what has happened in the past 200 years, I would say, has been that people vote for the government. But the system in Liberia is so corrupt. It was designed not as a democracy, it was designed to empower and to enrich politicians. And with that being said, empowering and to empower and enrich politicians, there is absolutely nothing Liberians can do. So right now, by voting, what they do is they are putting gasoline in a car that has run out of fuel.
Re-
And so I'm saying, if the car run out of fuel, let it just stay right there. Do not vote if you are not happy, because according to the Constitution, the happiness of the citizen is part of the purpose for government, the safety and the happiness. So if you are not safe and you are not happy, then why should you vote? But instead of telling them not to vote, we have set a platform for voting. Don't vote for the corrupt system, vote for change. And so we have a platform that is available now for all those who are not happy to vote for change. And that vote, after it's been tallied, we are going to take it to the colonial master of the Republic of Liberia, which is the United States Congress and the incoming administration, to tell them the system that you set up is so corrupt, it has not worked. The people are not happy. And we want liberation. We want a new Liberia. We want a new constitution that is going to empower the people and guarantee justice, security, and equal opportunities for all. We don't have that right now. People are not happy. People are not safe. People should not continue to vote.
Reverend Cry, it seems to be your battle here is on two fronts. You are trying to take issue with the American government for Liberia long-standing democratic flaws. And at the same time, you are telling Liberians the system they have that is not working for them is their own doing, so they should boycott it. So I guess my question here is, we are a representative democracy. The people elected their lawmakers, and the lawmakers are not doing what they're supposed to do. So why are you telling the people to boycott voting?
I'm not telling them to boycott the voting. For the first time in the history of Liberia, we are providing an alternative. If you look at the picture, I sent you a picture, and I'd like for you to show that picture on the screen. I sent you a picture, and I can send it again. The Liberian is at a fork of a road. There's an intersection. There's a Y intersection. And this guy had his hand on his head. To the left are Liberians, politician on the shoulder of Liberian people. And to the right, you have human beings who are producing goods and services on the other side. And we are telling them to choose. We're not telling them don't vote, sit down. We're telling them to choose change. And change is going to happen. You reap what you sow. If you continue voting for this corrupt system, the corrupt system is going to reap corruption. But I can tell you, yes.
Yeah, let's take it step by step so that I understand. Number one, you don't want Liberians to vote in these upcoming elections. And you are saying, first question is why? And you keep saying the corrupt system. So lay it out for me. When you say Liberians should not vote, why is it so? And when you say the system is corrupt, it does not work, how?
Okay. So first of all, the access to ballot in Liberia is totally out of the reach of the average Liberian citizen. This is a country that says that people do not just rely on the citizens, on getting signatures of citizens to qualify a candidate to vote, as it is done in a lot of democratic countries. This is a citizen that requires people to pay money to run in a civic contest. So if you don't have money, then you cannot run. And how much do they charge? They charge up to thousands of dollars. The typical Liberian earns less than $1 a day. How can they ever get enough money to register to run for civic office? It is impossible because of this obstacle of ballot access. You don't do that in the United States. You don't do that in the European Union. You don't do that in a lot of democratic states. That's the first thing, ballot access. The second thing, the second problem is, I said this system is corrupt by design. It was designed to empower and to enrich politicians. And how do I know that? I have to go back to the history book. One of the founders of Liberia, Honorable Henry Clay, who was Speaker of the House of Representatives of the United States, and chairman of the American Colonization Society, said, and I quote, "The purpose for Liberia was to get rid of a useless and pernicious part of the population of the United States." Now, that's not how you start up a democracy, by classifying human beings to be useless. And besides that, they actually said the purpose for Liberia, the second annual report of the American Colonization Society said the purpose for Liberia was to keep the slaves that were in the United States enslaved, to keep them faithful to their master, honest to their master, and useful to their master. And all of the people who participated in this enterprise, the Liberian colonization enterprise, were people like Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, Bushrell Washington, that we honor today with Bushrell Island. He owned 100.
Reverend Crowd, let me stop you there. And I'm fascinated by the excellent, piece of history you're sharing. I read your open letter to Joe Biden that is in front page, and I was thrilled. I read it twice because you did a very good research to providing that information. But what I'm gathering here is that you are blaming 100 plus years ago something that happened, has been the reason Liberia is what it is today. We always point at Rwanda that ended a bloody civil war a few years ago and is thriving. So you want to tell me since the 1800s all the way to the 1900s, the mistakes that were made in the past, that what still got us down here? Are you going to be holding the white man responsible up to this point for Liberia's problem? I disagree.
Okay, so there's something called in the Bible, it says you reap what you sow. Mm-hmm. When you sow a seed and it starts to bear fruit,
right?
You if you don't like the fruit that the seed is that the tree is bearing, you can't just wish it to go away. You got to uproot that tree. You got to uproot that bitter tree and cultivate, plow the field and sow a new seed. What I'm saying is that we are reaping what was sown, and there is something called liability. The United States government owes Liberia a duty of care. They breached that duty by first of all by creating a system that was not democratic. Liberia, if you sow bitter ball in the beginning, there's no way you can reap something else. What people do, and you've seen it in a lot of places like United States and other places, is if somebody
the system that we have in Liberia, don't you see it as a complete replica of what we have in the US?
Absolutely not.
How?
Absolutely not.
Because what are the differences?
Let me show you one typical example. Mm-hmm. In the United States of America, mm-hmm. the remuneration and how people get paid as public servants is not based on arbitrary numbers set by people. We don't, in the United States, they don't just tell somebody you are elected today as a member of the Senate, and therefore you're going to go and set your own salary. That's exactly what is done in Liberia. The numbers are arbitrary without
and so who you think should set them right for us? The Americans should go there and do that? Are we not capable enough to do those things for ourselves?
The Constitution, that's what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. The Constitution is the system that was established. It was established to give politicians power to do anything they want. What's happening in the United States? I live in Massachusetts.
But the Constitution is just more like a telling piece of all of the things that go on. I don't think the Constitution does not spell out the salary of every civil servant. It does not spell it out. So for you
I'm not talking about civil servant. Go ahead. I'm talking about lawmakers.
Okay.
I'm talking about lawmakers in democratic countries. Mm-hmm. Lawmakers' salary are set based on the cost of living. Mm-hmm. Or that's one of the things I use. But in Liberia, mm-hmm. you are elected and you can set your salary to anything. That is a formula for ritualistic killings. That's the formula for corruption. And as long as those things are placed in the Constitution, there is absolutely no way that it can change unless you change the constitution. And who changes the constitution in Liberia? Everything falls right on the lap of the legislator. They are the only ones.
Yeah,
I
for
can
for
give
that
you an
one, I agree
example.
with you. Mhm.
There was a news article a few days ago from Switzerland where I'm going to share with you. In Switzerland, there was a news article about a law that was passed that was rejected by voters. In Switzerland, the lawmakers can make law, but it has to be accepted. You need 100,000 signatures to bring that law to the whole country for a referendum, any law. And they just recently rejected laws that have been passed. So the people are in charge in Switzerland. But in Liberia, once you are elected, the constituents have absolutely no control over you by constitution. Everything
And
that
you
is
think who
done in
is
Liberia,
responsible for that? You think the lawmakers are responsible? The way
the
you put it,
sea,
that the people have no control. I feel that the people have no, they have control. They are not just exercising the control they have.
the seed that was sown
Mhm.
is what is reaping the fruits we have today. The seeds of starting up a country on the basis of a human being inferior. That is what the United States of America did. They passed a law March 26, 1790, that anyone that is not white from Europe is inferior and therefore is not qualified to be a citizen of this country. This country is divided because of that.
Reverend
This
Crua,
country
I agree
is
with you, but that was many, many years ago. What you're telling me is that because your great grandfather did not send your father to school, I mean, you are saying that even if your father sent you to school, it's not going to make any difference because your great grandfather did not send your father to school. This is what you're telling me, and I disagree with that.
Let me tell you about my father.
Hmm.
Since you brought the father thing into play,
Right.
my father is Democratic. Right now, as I speak to you,
Hmm.
he's in Tapeta and he's adding 12 classrooms to the school he built in 1960.
Hmm.
The school was not built by the government, it was not built by missionaries, it was not built by companies. Democracy is not what foreigners do in foreign aid or other people.
So you see,
Democracy
you
is
are
a government
making my point right there, Reverend Crua.
it's
Your
a government
father
of
is
the
making a
people.
difference. He's changing the very seed that you said was so many years ago that responsible for the problem. So if we as a people can uproot that bad fruit, about that bad seed you're talking about, and plant a new one, we shouldn't be crying baby yet. And what you're doing here is crying
Listen,
baby for
listen.
something that happened many years ago.
What I'm saying is that the whole republic is reaping a fruit. I'm saying we have to uproot this tree. How do you uproot the tree? Do not put water on the corrupt tree.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go there and uproot it by creating a separate voting system, because the system of election in Liberia is so corrupt, because the constitution is so corrupt. I'm telling the people, you can now come and vote for change.
All right.
That's what we're saying.
Okay.
Yesterday, I was on the radio in Grenada County.
Let me bring
All
your
the people
attention to
who called
this.
said this is the right thing we need to do. We need to have change, and we cannot keep voting for nothing.
Reverend, I purely get what you are driving at. You have described the problem well. The disconnect for me is the solution you are proposing, that the entire country, as a people, we are powerless. All we need to do is to run to the Almighty America to save us, because they created a problem. Don't you see solution in Liberians themselves?
So what I'm saying is that we have a colony. We have a colony that has a name that was created in the United States. We have a colony that has its capital named after the President of the United States. We have a constitution. I'm calling for a change of the constitution. As long as that flawed constitution remains in place, there is nothing that's going to move forward. But
Right.
the
And
reason
I want to agree with that, but how do we change the constitution? You are saying we should come to America for help.
I'm saying the way we're going to change the constitution is people need to identify who is happy and who is not happy. As you continue to vote for a corrupt government in a corrupt system with a corrupt constitution that leads to the mutilation of 3-year-old girls because somebody wants to make $15,000 a month, whereas the country's budget is less than $1 billion, $535 million, and somebody feels that they can make $15,000 a month, and they're going to take a little girl and mutilate her. I'm saying don't vote for that system, because right now what we're doing is there has never been in the history of Liberia any time that you have a group of people that have called for changing the constitution to say, well, if you don't like it, step aside, identify yourself that you don't like the system, you want to have changed. The whole process of referendum is completely fraud.
Thank you. And let me say, the folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. We are in an exclusive conversation with Reverend Crow, and he is asking Liberians, to not vote in this election and in the referendum, because he's saying doing so is like you are trying to perpetuate the very corrupt system that you are not benefiting from, completely designed for politicians alone to benefit. And his solution is that, hey, let uproot this bad seed that was sown. And he said this seed was sown to us, so planted in Liberia by the American people. So we should also go to the Almighty America also to help us solve the problem. Then I asked a very excellent question.
To demand damages. Look, there were atrocities committed in Liberia based on the racial colonization of that country. People were killed, people were tortured for 200 years. And that has not been accounted for. So when we come into the United States, we're not coming to a United States to please help us. We are making a demand of the United States for crimes against humanity. That's what it's all about.
And how, let's say the US agrees that, oh, so yeah, that is true, because the people that were uprooted from here after many years of slave labor were sent to Liberia. So we give you $2 billion. How does that solve that problem if we still have the corrupt people in there who don't eat their money anyway? How does that solve that problem?
It's not the people, it is the system. The problem, a lot of people, like right now, the opposition is saying we have incompetent government. Put us there. Well, that was the same thing the CDC said a few years ago. They said President Sirleaf was incompetent. Put CDC there. They were carrying caskets of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf in Monrovia, saying that all we needed was a change of the personnel. And the same thing with President Sirleaf herself. President Sirleaf spent almost 40 years in the opposition, accusing everybody of corruption.
And it's so true, Reverend Crew, but how is this your proposal that they should not vote help to correct the system? And that's what
I'm not saying they should not. You keep saying that. You keep saying I'm saying they should not vote. I'm not saying they should not vote. I'm saying we are setting up an alternative for these people to vote for change, and not for politicians.
How do they vote for change? How do they vote for change?
They vote for change. Okay, imagine there is a truck coming from Sano all the way to Monrovia by road, and it reaches Ganta, and the truck ran out of fuel. It ran out of fuel, and all 4 tires are flat. And it started appealing to the people in Ganta, give me fuel, 1 gallon per person. Each person that puts a gallon into that car enables the car to go another 10 feet or another 10 miles. If the whole town come together and fuel that corrupt vehicle, it's going to make its way to Monrovia. They're not going to see it again until the next 9 years. But if all the people in Uganda say, you know what, this vehicle is corrupt, we want a different vehicle, your tires will not be inflated, we're not going to put a gallon of gasoline into this car, that thing is going to stay there, it's not going to move. President Weah is president today because of the votes of Liberians. The speaker is speaker today because of the votes of Liberians. I'm telling the Liberians, don't vote for these people because the system is corrupt. The moment they are elected, they take and
we get that. The analogy you just gave about this car, it still does not convince me. So tell me, how do we vote for change? I mean, explain this. Give me more examples about how do we vote for change.
Let me give you another example. You only have, let's say you only have 100,000 voters in Monrovia.
Fine.
Okay?
Yeah.
I won't call Monrovia, I'll take it to Bombing, to Topmanburg.
Right.
You got 100,000 voters in Topmanburg. Snow is running, Tyler is running, all these guys are running. And for the past few months or the past few weeks, little girls have been missing in this town. 3-year-old girl has been taken by somebody to offer sacrifice where they remove the little girl's heart, her eye, her private parts. And the people said that 100,000 voters in Bombing say, you know what? This is just too much. We cannot control how much these people make. And this high salary, these excessive salaries and benefits have become incentive for murder. And therefore, we are not going to vote at all for anyone except for change. They take their vote and deposit it in our polling places. Okay? 100,000 votes for us. This is how it's going to change. That's 100,000 people that say, we don't want this system, we want change. President, we was just in Bombing trying to find votes, those same votes. If we extend from Bombing to Monrovia and tell the people, you're living in cages now, you have armed robbery, you have corruption, you have ritualistic killing, you have a lot of people dying here. Do you want this thing? Are you happy with this? And the people in Monrovia say we have 200,000 voters in Monrovia, or 200,000 of these voters say, you know what? We are voting for change. Instead of voting for this corrupt system, they come and deposit their vote in our place, in this alternative platform that we just set up. President Weah can no longer campaign in Bombing. He can no longer campaign in Monrovia. And we spread around the country. And pretty soon,
I got the drift.
We need a new constitution.
Reverend Kura.
And how do you get it? We have to have a sovereign national conference.
Right, I get the drift. And I want you to take your time and walk me through the entire process from finish to end, right? Because the Bombing example you gave, we have a simple majority. So this what you are explaining is beautiful, but how practical it is. Say you have 100,000 votes in Bombing, and 10 persons from Bombing decide to vote out of the 100,000. Whoever has a simple majority wins, correct?
Yes.
So how is your solution fixing anything? The corrupt system continues.
Here is how the system that we have devised is going to change. This system it's a prototype for Liberia, but eventually for the entire continent of Africa. Here is how it works. So out of the 100,000, only 10 people decide, no matter what, we don't care about this man's stuff, we're going to go and vote. And based on these 10 voters, one person vote for Snow, 3 persons vote for Tyler, the other person, one person vote for the other people. Tyler wins by 3 votes. Tyler becomes the senator for Bombing County. All right?
Right.
We have record. We have record of all of our voters with their names, their voter ID numbers and everything. And we know that Liberia is not even independent. Liberia is still a colony. It was created as a colony of the United States. It's still a colony of the United States. And the next step, as I said, was we are bringing our list to the colonial master in Congress and the colonial master in the White House to say, look, what you started over there, first of all, it was illegal. And you said you never colonized this country. We're going to prove to you, you colonized it. There was an act of Congress, and we bring this to these people. Liberia cannot function, according to Charles Taylor, not me. Charles Taylor said Liberia cannot function without support of the United States because it's dependent on the United States. And by coming to make these, to show this evidence, which, by the way, we've already shown to the member of the Rules Committee, Honorable James McGovern, Chairman of Rules Committee.
Reverend, let me come in. Your Bombing example you gave.
Let him complete how the United States, what's going to happen after we come to Congress. Then what?
Okay, so we come to Congress. We come to Congress with a list of real people, their ID and everything, and say, look, out of 100,000 voters, 9.
You are muted. Unmute yourself, sir.
So we come to Congress and show to Congress, you have 100,000 voters, and out of this 100,000, all but 10 voted. And out of the 10, one man got 3 votes and won. According to the system in Liberia, we are saying to you that you created a monster. You created a very bad, corrupt system over there. You can help us to solve this problem. And we are demanding change in the colony. Okay? So then Congress is going to look at this and say, well, what are we going to do? And not only are we going to Congress, we are also, this is a movement that is a little bit broader because we are also having grassroots support here in the United States to back what we are doing in Liberia, because what they started in Liberia is also tearing this country apart. And so we have community grassroots groups looking at this 3-year-old person mutilated in this place and looking at the outrage in the community. They put enough pressure on Congress. Congress put pressure on Mr. Whoever with 3 votes. And the system in Liberia is going to change, just how it changed with Charles Taylor. When they said Charles Taylor was duly elected. When they said Charles Taylor, it's time to go. He who said, I'm a duly elected president of a sovereign state, said, I'm leaving because the superpower said for me to go.
Reverend Kura, why you just explained that, I wanted to comment on the bombing example you gave. So let me touch on that quickly. I mean, why you can't allow the citizen to boycott all election to not vote at all?
No, it's not boycott. I'm giving the alternative. I keep telling you, can you please show the picture that I have?
You said take your vote and bank it. So how do they bank their vote? You were talking about
we have established an alternative. Right now, I can show you people that are voting. People are voting right now as I'm speaking to you. People are voting, and tomorrow morning they're going to be voting. People are voting, and I can even read some of the comments that they are making. We are in America. These people live in a place where there's no safety, there's no justice, there's no equal opportunities, except for a few people. And mind you, these few people, most of them are citizens of the United States. Most of them are United States persons with green card. The top opposition person is also citizen or permanent resident of the United States. The top ruling party person is also citizen or permanent resident. The top independent. So all these people have their families, they have houses here in the United States. We have leverage to stop this nonsense and this brutality.
I will understand the idea you are expressing if you turn it to, for example, a ballot measure calling for a complete paradigm shift of the system. And then you campaign for it. And look, if you go to the ballot or if you go to the polling place, vote for change Liberia, for example. And that's why you should vote for. If you advocate that it should get on the ballot. So that means when majority of the people vote for that, then it becomes compelling that the state should act on it. That's one. And the other idea you continue to say,
may I answer that? May I answer that, please? May I answer that, please?
Yes, please do that.
I don't know how long you've been in the United States, but what you just explained to me does not exist in the corrupt system in Liberia. We just had an election here, and on the election they had Donald Trump, they had Biden. And then they had a blank space for you to put whatever you want to put. In Liberia, the legislature control the ballot. There's no option. That's why we are going to have an alternative option. If they had an option for the ballot to have something where the citizens can express themselves, we definitely would have gone that route. But there is nothing.
But Reverend, you can advocate for something to be there. For that to be placed on the ballot, I think here in the US,
we have already advocated this. What you're hearing from me today started out if you look at the paper I sent you, what we're advocating for today started on July 16, 2015 in Monrovia. We already started at the time. It was President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf. She was doing this ballot thing. We proposed this change to the commission that was supposed to do the Constitution.
Yes, they said the Constitutional Review Committee.
We wrote them, and we wrote every member of the House, every member of the Senate, and the president. They wouldn't even consider that, because they say, oh, you know,
No,
this
they don't
country.
respond to any communication. You waste your time. They don't respond to any communication.
So Asuni, Reverend Kura Asuni, this is what Asuni, if I'm hearing Reverend Kura correct, what you are proposing, Asuni, is going to the same corrupt system to change. Reverend Kura said he has had enough. This system is corrupt, so making little tweak is not going to do anything. Uproot the whole thing. So if you have a ballot measure and carry it to the same legislator, he's saying no, it's not going to help because the whole thing is corrupt. The problem I'm having now is the solution that he has derived. And I don't think it's practical, because the United States, based on her foreign policy and all the other things in between, is not going to do anything. So I thought you could use the same citizen in Liberia to make the change. And then you give an example when the United States told Taylor to leave. Well, it was not by mob. There was a Model, there were Lur, they were raining down bombs on Monrovia. Is that what you are advocating for?
Look, what I'm advocating for, I've already stated before, and I will state it again. Look, the United States controls Liberia. Liberia is a colony of the United States. I keep saying this. Why do I say this? The name Liberia did not come from African American people. It didn't come from indigenous. It came from slave masters. It was created. It's a bit. It was deception to get African Americans to move from this country so they can bring Europeans to come here. It was illegal. The United States of America. That is why the United States has never agreed to the fact that they are the colonizing power in Liberia.
Reverend Kura, for somebody like me, and with no belief whatsoever that the U.S. controls Liberia, how can you convince me? How can you prove to me? I mean, I don't see how the U.S. decides what goes on in Liberia. How? Explain to me.
Let me tell you. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you. Let me prove it to you. Mm-hmm. When Gold Coast became independent, the British handed them Gold Coast. The Ghanaians decided our country name is going to be changed from Gold Coast.
Reverend Kura, tell me how it's happening now. Don't give me. I know the history.
The label. You see, slavery goes by label. Whenever the slave master buys a slave, they brand the slave. They put their name on the slave. That's how you know. When you purchase a car, you have a title deed to the car. Your name is on that title deed. That's how you know the car belongs to you. Whose name is on Liberia? The slave master. Liberia is not free. Liberia was a deception. Our capital city is called Monrovia.
You are telling me that. Listen, my family name is CA. So because I carry the CA name, are you trying to tell me that my father decide how I run my home here in America? This is exactly why you're telling me I'm not buying it.
I'm telling you that when you get the person whose name is on the title owns the car. If you think you own the car, you got to put your name on the title. But here we have a situation where the slave master said, first of all, you guys are inferior human beings. You're not really made in the image of God. You're not. And so they brand you and created this fake republic and handed it to you and say you are free and we control everything. Look, if Liberia was free,
I can't argue with you on the history. And I told you I read your piece. I like the history. That is complete fact. But as we speak today, I would want any career diploma or anybody who follows in to tell me, how does America control Liberia? America does not control Liberia. No.
Okay, so you're telling me now that you agree with it, you set aside the history. What's about the tree analogy where you sow a seed and the tree grew up, it bears fruit. When you send college graduate to harvest, they harvest bitter ball. When you send somebody who is not educated, they harvest bitter ball. And you have never uprooted that tree to plant a new seed. Right. You telling me that that there's going to be magically a new seed fruit to grow? You know, I believe in the Bible.
That's the solution we're talking about. And earlier I told you, then let uproot it. But you are saying we can't just uproot it like that. We got to go back to the Almighty America. And I'm saying no, we can uproot it and plant a new one ourselves. But you want America to be part of it, and say they don't necessarily have to.
There is no avenue. There is no avenue for ballot to for us to make that change by ballot because of the constitution that is currently in Liberia. And the only other alternative now is, look, if you are walking on the sidewalk and you get hit by an Amazon truck, what are you going to do? You're going to take the driver to court, or you're going to take Amazon company to court. That's the legal way you have to do it. This place is, where's the deed for the land?
Reverend Crow, that is completely different from when you are talking about sovereignty. Liberia is a sovereign nation. America is a sovereign nation. Though America is powerful, I don't think America runs the day-to-day affairs of Liberia. The president of Liberia does. The last time we checked, America is more like taking her hands off Liberia beside their humanitarian contribution that it makes to Liberia. America does not decide what kind of money Liberia should bring. No. They have interest there. So I completely disagree that America is running Liberia. No.
So you're telling me you also disagree that if somebody sows a seed that has not been uprooted, that seed will not be able to bear the type of fruit of its kind that was planted?
And that is the system you are talking about. And I agree with you. The system is rotting. And I'm telling you, let's change the system. But you are saying, no.
Do you agree with me that the system is rotting?
Oh, yes. No argument about that. No argument.
Okay. Have you seen any other solutions aside from put me in a corrupt system with the independent candidates, the opposition candidates, and the ruling party candidates saying, no, I'm the solution?
I've not seen any other solution. And I agree with you. We have to change the system. But you are saying that to change the system, we must go back to America because America planted the seed. How does that change it? Why can't we uproot this seed that is being planted that you're talking about? And I agree with you. Let us Liberians uproot it. We don't have to go back to America.
John, if you agree with it, that is corrupt to the core, that they're killing people for nothing, they're killing little children for nothing, and you agree that we cannot continue to fuel it. Do you also agree that it is our votes that fuel the system?
Oh yeah, I 100% agree, and that is why I chose to be here to ask everybody a question, for us to get at a solution. And this is why you are sweating right now, Dennis. I'm tested for the solution that will work for the country. That's what I want. And
how do you know?
Dennis wants. And that's why Dennis is asking you, how does going back to the Almighty America solve this problem?
Is that his question?
Yeah, or is that your question? And the answer you gave, it didn't satisfy me.
Okay, let me give you the answer again. This is how the whole thing works.
Okay.
How does going to America solve the problem in this place? If you break it, you own it. Until you fix it, you really can divorce yourself from it. You break it. There was an old man that went in the store to buy cutlass. He took the cutlass, he started testing it like this, and the thing broke in your hand. He said, okay, I want the one here. The one that got broken. You can't go to a place and break something and can't sit there and say, go by yourself. It's liability. That's why I said they owe the people of Liberia a duty of care because they ran a corrupt and illegal enterprise of all the top officials, four presidents of the United States, the Chief Justice, the leaders of Congress. All these people came, and what they did was actually a crime against humanity. These people didn't paint themselves black. So why should you leave them and go when they are responsible for it? That's why I talk about the Amazon truck. If an Amazon truck breaks my leg, I'm not going to go and choke the driver. I'm going to file a claim against the company that is responsible for this truck being on the road.
Yeah.
And you have to remember whose name is on the title. Again, whose name is on the title.
Right. That's the title you're talking about. Liberia is Liberian's name on it, not America's name on it. That was many years ago. Not now. Colonialism have ended many years ago. The Ghanaians are developing their place because look, the war is like a partnership now. Thank God we have the relationship with Liberia. The United States. If we Liberians put our act together and work with them, we can benefit from that collaboration. But to think that America, has this almighty power over Liberia and decide what we do, I don't see it that way, Dennis. Dennis.
Go ahead.
No, I just
Well,
read.
All right. Reverend Krua,
yeah.
is the history? Where is the precedent of what you are talking? That America has had its fingers in other nations across the world. Where is the history of people holding America accountable and America going to do something?
Well, when you talk about America having its finger in countries around the world, that's one thing. I can tell you right now that the United States is spending billions of dollars to rebuild Afghanistan. Okay? America right now is spending billions of dollars. Before we get out, I'll give you the number of how much they're spending to rebuild Afghanistan. That's one. Number two, what I'm talking about is colonization. America didn't colonize. There has not been an act of Congress that colonized other places by America like they did in Liberia. And so this is a unique situation with a government that claims they have never been involved in colonization, when in fact there is record and proof that they in fact colonized Liberia. And not only did they colonize, they actually paid the people who they sent over there. Samuel Bacon was paid by the United States of America. So when you send your employees, to go work somewhere, you are liable for their actions. That's law.
Dennis, the good question you asked, and Reverend Crow, your answer you gave, I think the situation is different. The Afghanistan you talk about, the Americans went there and destroyed the people country. And this is recent history you're talking about. Now, the case of Liberia, the America does not feel that it took people to Liberia to destroy Liberians' life. America does not feel that way. Even in Iraq, America has spent billions of dollars for reconstruction because they are aware that they took war into those people's country. And during the fighting period, they carry on mass destruction, not only life, but of property. So they are building those places. But for Liberia, they felt that they established a state and that's it. They didn't damage anything. That's how they feel. So how is that going to work?
Fueling is not what is legal. You can feel a certain way and you can still be held accountable for your action. You're just telling me that United States doesn't feel. Do you also agree that in fact there were massacres in Liberia, that the United States captain, the Navy captain, put the gun on somebody's head in Liberia, that Matita Newport used the cannon that was supplied by the United States Navy to shoot people in Liberia? I mean, you can go on and on and on with the military intervention and the killing of people in Liberia. Just because Liberians have not made a claim doesn't mean that there was no destruction done in Liberia. There was destruction done in Liberia the same way there was destruction done in Afghanistan.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are just joining us, this is Focus on Liberia. We are discussing with Reverend Tolly Kura. He is saying instead of voting for the corrupt system, we should take the vote and give it to his organization, give it to him, because that's a bank. And Mr. C, if people in the back will put on the screen the reason he gave, so we can run through that quickly, why he thinks that we should not be voting for the same thing in Liberia. And in the words of opposition leader Cummings, doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Yeah. So, folks in cyberspace, you should be seeing on your screen right now. These are ideas propounded by Reverend Kura through his organization. And he's saying, why not vote on December 8, 2020 referendum and the election? He said, it's a waste of your time, waste of your votes, and lifeline to the corrupt system, I believe. If your votes since 1847 yielded nothing, 2020 vote will change nothing. You empower politicians to be enriched and empowered. You can bank your vote for yourself and your children and your country. And Reverend Kura, the part I want you to explain that is not clear. How do you bank your vote for yourself, your children, and your country? Explain that.
In Liberia, people have given petitions to the legislature. Mm-hmm. And according to the Constitution, if 5 million Liberians sign a petition, mm-hmm. the decision is going to rest on the lawmaker. They are the sole body that can make that decision. And so that petition will amount to nothing. So there's been so many petitions, it's amounted to nothing. They throw it down in the trash can. because it's not in favor of the representative democracy. Secondly, you have a lot of people demonstrating on the street. People go on the street and demonstrate, hundreds of people, maybe tens of thousands of people go and demonstrate, and then they come home. Those demonstrations amount to nothing because the demonstrations don't mean too much to the government at all. What we're talking about is a different thing. We are talking about identifying people on a sheet of paper where you have your district, where you have your name, where you have the number of your voter ID. You are identified, and what you're saying to these people is you are not happy. The system is destroying your future, and you cannot use your ballot to put fuel, to give oxygen to the system. Because without all of the votes, the representative will not become representative. The senators will not become the senator. The president will not become. That's why they come in a community to canvass and ask you to vote for them. And so you are saying that you want justice, you want security, you want equal opportunities. All of the top officials of government have access to America. They have access to opportunities. You don't. And so you don't want to continue to put fuel in their vehicle.
And Reverend Cruz, so let me give you this scenario. This is a May 10 election coming. We have a president who has 3 years left, and we have some lawmakers who still have some time left. If we don't vote or the people decide not to vote, what will happen is we'll be without 15 senators. And in the general and presidential election, we may not have a president, we may not have senators, we may not have representatives. Don't you think we'll be having a constitutional crisis on our hands?
So what you have to weigh on the one hand is death, and on the other hand is a crisis of a constitution that does not even represent you. Which one would you choose? Will you choose your life, or will you choose to fix a corrupt system for it to continue? What we're trying to do is to demolish the whole system, and that will even help to bring it down.
So when the system is demolished, using the same scenario where presidential election, the citizen, by the grace of God, which I think is never going to happen, God, no Liberians. I mean, no election. I mean, so we don't have president. So why? How do we start the process without the government? Tell me how we start the process. We'll go to a transitional government. Is that not the same thing?
No, we have not even reached the president. The president still will be in power. If people don't vote on November 8th, it's going to send a wake-up call to the government that we need to have a sovereign national conference. We need to change the constitution. Instead of doing a piecemeal change of stuff, it's going to get a message. It's going to go loud and clear to the government. If you don't do that, if you continue to give them oxygen, they'll be emboldened to do more corruption, because everything they're doing is legal. Every single thing they're doing is in accordance with the Constitution, to which they have already taken an oath.
All right. And you also wrote here, you said you're asking a question here. Who's enjoying opportunities entitled to Liberians now? You're asking that question. And you bullet pointed here, 22 million citizens from 39 countries who did nothing for the U.S. All Liberian lawmakers and top politicians. President Weah, Salif, Senator Groupie, and I think here you meant to say all the president, senators, and representatives. Explain that for us.
Everything that people do, the government is done based on the protection. The government has an obligation to protect its own citizens. The government has the obligation to provide justice, security, etc. Right now, if Liberia was truly an independent country, the question of the millions of dollars that's been extorted from Liberian citizens by the United States Embassy will not be going on. Right now, 22 million people are allowed to come to this country every year without a visa. Yet Liberia, and in Liberia, you got two groups of people. You got the indigenous and the settlers, descendants of indigenous, you got descendants of settlers. These two groups of people have contributed immensely to the United States of America. And yet today, the United States government is extorting money from these people, $160 for a non-refundable visa interview, and they will take that $160, deny them visa. They make millions of dollars from Liberian people, but all of the top officials, the opposition officials, the independent, all of them come to America freely. And they don't care about the people and what's happening to them. Millions of dollars. And at the same time, 22 million people from 39 countries come to the United States without even getting a visa. Well, Article 1 of the 1924 Constitution, the colonial constitution, which Liberia is still a colony of the United States, the colonial constitution said all persons born in Liberia is entitled to all rights enjoyed by citizens of the United States of America. Okay, so if we really had government that thinks about the people, what they're going to do is they're going to try to work in the interest of the people. But I can tell you from the phone calls, I mean, from the callers that have been coming to the shows that I've been hosting for the past week, everybody says the people don't care about us. They don't seek our interest at all. So they are enjoying the benefits that the Liberians the Liberian people are supposed to be enjoying. Foreigners are enjoying the benefit. Everyone is enjoying the benefit. But the people whose vote will make these people to be senators and representatives, they are the only ones who are not enjoying these benefits. And yes.
I watched a video clip from my own Sino County where these people, they are in what I see as a village, and hundreds of them, they are walking and dancing in the mud for someone who is running to be representative. So I said to myself, what exactly are these people benefiting from the senators and representatives for which they are putting their lives on the line? So I completely understand what you are saying. And I feel that in order, and I want to agree with you, that in order to send a strong message is do not vote. Stay at home. Even if 3 persons will vote or 100 persons instead of 1,000, that will send a strong message that we are unhappy with the system. If they still choose to support us, just with a minute vote, let them go ahead and continue to boycott elections. My question to you is, what are you doing to get the people that I saw in Santo County not to vote?
Well, I have not really have a good connection in Sano County. I have connection in Maryland, in Grand Jita, Nimba, Bon, etc.
Yeah, I was just referring to what I'm doing on the ground presently to carry your message and convince people that, hey, stop putting fuel into this corrupt vehicle.
So there are people on the ground who have already signed up. In Monrovia, there's a gentleman, Joe Luamba Jr. In San Nicolas, there's a gentleman called Joseph Solo Jr. In Grand Jita, there's a guy called Abraham Duncan. So there are people on the ground already that are taking the message to the people. And in Buchanan, we actually have a system in place that is just not don't vote or vote this way, but also pushing for economic mobility for the people that become part of this community. So in Buchanan now we have several hundred families that have benefited from our citizen initiative to be able to engage in business for themselves. And so we are forming a community, not just political community, but a community of for economic mobility, where people will be able to use their God-given gifts and talent to earn a living for themselves.
All right, Reverend Crow, thank you right there. And folks in cyberspace, you are watching Focus on Liberia. This is a Tuesday special. We are in an exclusive with Reverend Crow. He is the founder of the Free Liberia movement. It is a pro-democracy group that is advocating for a paradigm shift in Liberia, and he said it should start with voting, and that the people should not vote for the corrupt system that they do not benefit from. Reverend Crow also wrote an open letter to President-elect Joe Biden that is in front page newspaper. I will encourage all those who are listening to us to go and read it. It is rich with the history of Liberia. You will learn a lot from it, and I encourage you, I recommend that you read that. Reverend Crow, from that article that I just talked about, there's something you capture. showing the huge disparity between the US budget and the Liberian government budget. But then when it comes to the allotment for the elected officials, you see the huge differences also. Let me put that on the screen for our audience to see, and then you can come in. And I think you try to showcase this to further prove that the system is not in the interest of the people, and there should be a paradigm a shift. I should be coming there soon quickly. So let me read it. You have budget, salary, and benefit. Then on the second column, you have Liberia. Liberia budget is around $535.4 million. Then further on the right, United States of America budget is $4.79 trillion. But in Liberia, that has the smallest budget, the president is working away with 3.9 million as an annual budget. And then the vice president, 2.4 million as annual budget. Whereas in America, with a budget of 4.7 trillion, the president is working away with just 400,000 salary a year. The vice president, 230,700 a year. Now, when you come to Liberia, you look at our speaker and you look at our pro tem and senators, they are making almost million. Yeah, the speaker and the pro tem making more than 1 million. That's the amount being budgeted for them in a year. Whereas in the US, it's in just around 200,000. This is a huge disparity. What are you trying to accomplish with the data?
So before on the 30th of October this year, 2020, we had a meeting with the Rules Committee, Congressman James McGovern, and we brought to that meeting newspaper clippings of ritualistic killings in Liberia. We also brought to that meeting the budget of the Liberian government and allocations for members of the legislature, of the Liberian legislature. And one of the figures is, I think, $111,000 for fuel for the pro tem, $111,000 US for fuel for pro tem, $40,000 for maintenance of vehicle for pro tem, $40,000 US. The average American worker, according to Social Security Administration, makes around 30 to 35,000 a year. Over 50%. Right. Over 50% of American taxpayers make around 35,000 a year. And here we have a dependent country paying for just the automobile maintenance $40,000. It doesn't make sense. And what we're trying to prove to the American taxpayer is that they are providing the incentive in foreign aid by providing foreign aid to this country that is neither accountable to its citizens or accountable to American taxpayers, that they are incentivizing this corrupt system. And so we would like to see change.
That sounds like you are calling for sanctions.
Well, I'm calling for awareness. Because people don't know. We shared this with one of our senators, Nika Edoguado. She had no idea. She said, "Wow, I didn't know this. This is the kind of situation that exists, you know." And so, what we're calling for is more awareness on the part of American taxpayers, because I know how people work very hard in this country, and I know how in Liberia the lawmakers leave in September, October, November, December. 4 months they don't work and they still get paid. In Rhode Island, the lawmakers make $15,000 a year, but they work from January to June and then they close. Part-time legislature. Why should we be paying for people who are on vacation?
Reverend
That's a huge amount of money.
One of our viewers is asking you this question. Sam Wallace, why is he not in Liberia running this effort? He's going to free Liberia from the comfort of America, which he says destroys Liberia.
He said, why am I not in Liberia?
Yeah, and you are trying to save Liberia while in America that you claim destroy Liberia.
Okay, I'm in America now because of a civil war that started right in Boston. I came to Boston because the Civil War that drove me out of my country started in Boston. I believe in going to the root of everything. Anything that gets me trouble, I get to the root of it. That's why I'm in Boston. And why I'm not in Liberia, I may not be in Liberia, but there are people in Liberia running. I just told you in Grand Jita, Abraham Duncan, in Tapeta, Jonathan Garson. You know, there are so many people that are running the race. Democracy is not what a foreign body does. Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. What I'm doing is I inspire the people to change, and the people have to do this themselves. I'm not trying to do it for them. So that's the answer I have to give him.
Reverend
AB,
Crowd, explain to
let me,
me.
let me read one more
Uh-huh.
comment,
Okay,
Mr. CA.
go ahead.
AB DJ Blanco Carlos say, Reverend Kura have a very good historicity of past Liberia. With the present day reality we find ourselves, we as Liberians should drive our own way, especially in the political process of our country, and stop shifting blames on America.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of those people who say that let's forget about, let's just, whatever happened a long time ago, happened a long time ago, let's just forget about it and move. That is not true. We still carry the label called Liberia. That label didn't come from us. We don't have one abolitionist name, a street name in honor of an abolitionist. We don't have anything named in honor of any abolitionist in our country that is supposed to be for freedom of Black people. We have Monrovia. James Monroe owned 260 slaves. We have Bushra Island. That man owned 100 slaves. You know, we have Clay Ashland. It's crazy for us to say it's not happening today when we carry the label. Again, if you bought a car and you have the title, the person whose name is on the title now is the one who owns it. So you can't tell me, oh, I bought the car a long time ago, or I took this car, somebody had it a long time ago, I'll just drive it around. Whoever has that title in case of an accident, that's the person they're going to go after.
Let me read two more comments and then I'll go to
Okay.
Mr. CA. Jimmy Eastman say voting is your civic responsibility. Instead of discouraging people from voting, find ways people can be more effective in their daily lives. And Martin Zianwe say, I believe the Reverend is confusing influence with control. The U.S. has the highest influence on Liberia than any other nation on earth. On the other hand, Liberia is not controlled by the USA. Liberia only values USA more compared to any other nations.
What was the second comment? Read the second comment. I want to make a comment on that.
The
Please.
second comment from Jimmy is voting is your civic responsibility. Instead of discouraging people from voting, find ways people can be more effective in their daily lives.
Okay, I want to answer that. I'm not discouraging people from voting. I'm only giving them an alternative, and I'm providing an alternative to people who are not happy. Those who are happy with the system, I'll even help them to go to the polls to vote. I'm only appealing to people who are not happy with ritualistic killing, with the insecurity, with the corruption. I'm calling on those people to vote, and I'm providing an alternative for them. As for people's lives, I can tell you, I already told you, in Buchanan, we have this system. It's called Citizen Independence Initiative that we have assisted people to actually improve the businesses that they're doing, improving on the business. That system exists in this country. It's called Family Independence Initiative, FII.org. Is a community of mutuality where people go together to get out of poverty. And I became a member in Boston, and I took it to Liberia in Buchanan. It working there. So I am helping people in Liberia to improve, especially people who are doing business, to improve upon their business. And I'm helping people who are unhappy to have an alternative.
All right, Reverend Crowd, let me ask the question. I know that the U.S. government contributes to Liberia yearly, but I want you for you to explain to the audience how is that money landing in the pockets of government officials when the little I know is that this money is either channeled through USA for the most part. So how is that landing in the pockets of government officials? Do the connection for me.
Okay, so the total budget of the country,
Mhm,
the total budget of the country
mhm.
takes into account the grants that's giving and other assistance they get from other places,
Right.
and they put that together complete package of the country,
Mhm,
and that releases the government. The assistance releases the government to be able to find other sources of revenue
mhm,
that they can use for self-aggrandizement. And so by helping to sustain this corrupt system,
mhm,
the United States government is inadvertently or unwittingly supporting the corrupt system. For example, I have never heard from any United States government official that this excessive salary is a problem for the United States. They continue to fund, they continue to fund. They don't give the money directly in the hands of the government,
mhm,
but by funding this system, they become partners. In fact, they call them our international partner. They
mhm.
become partner and complicit to all of the stuff that's going on in the country.
Thank you so very much, folks in cyberspace. You are watching Focus on Liberia. We are in an exclusive with Reverend Crow, and he is providing an alternative for voters in Liberia for a paradigm shift in what he considers as the corrupt system that the people don't benefit from. And his advocacy is directed at mainly those who are not happy with the current system. He said they should keep their vote, they should bank it for themselves, for their children, and for their country. Dennis, time is fast spent. Any other
Let,
question that you have?
let me read two more comments.
Mhm.
Francis Bio and Francis Bio or Bio say Reverend Tully is making great points. It's said when many Liberians continue to ignore the problem within Liberia because many people are corrupt and enjoying the corrupt system. Many Liberians come to the Western world for better life, but ramp back because many of them are lazy, so to use the corrupt system. And then there's one more comment that I want to read. That comment is talking about if people don't vote, benefit the establishment, right? So, for instance, and I can find a comment, but let me paraphrase. The ruling party benefit if you call people not to vote. Definitely, people are going to vote for the ruling. The ruling party is going to always galvanize support for voting. So, what we may end up doing will be you support the status quo. The ruling party, people for the ruling party will always win. Your comment.
I totally disagree. Look, people are not happy. Even people in CDC are not happy. President Weah said 2 days ago, speaking to CDC people, I know you people are not happy. Come back. We'll try to do better. People are not happy, and according to President Weah, they took their votes away to Dillon, and so he's telling them to come back. I'm saying, if you are not happy, take your vote away from the whole system so the system collapses, and then we can get a better system. And so I don't think that by people not voting. Again, it's not voting. It's an alternative system. Those who are not happy in CDC, I welcome them to free Liberia. Those who are not happy in CDC, those who are not happy in the opposition, those who are not happy in independent. People are not happy. People are scared. People are afraid. People are dying, and you cannot continue to put oxygen into a system that is this way. And I can tell you, at the end of the day, if people are sincere to themselves, even those representatives that we see may come and say, I give up, I'm going to vote for change.
All right, Reverend Crow, my final question. You are also advocating for reparation for the carnage and human rights abuse, humiliation that original Liberians, if I should put it for the lack of better description, who came to the United States and sent back the way they work here and they were not paid and sent to Liberia with no compensation. You are saying we should come back to the U.S. To pay for the human rights abuses and the slavery that they meted against our people. People in the U.S. here have been having conversations for centuries now for the very reparation. Those who are still here, I don't think the U.S. government has entertained any of that. Where is the possibility for those of us beyond the Atlantic Ocean?
Well, the possibility is always there. I believe in the Bible. The Bible says you have not because you ask not. Ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open. I have never heard anybody from Liberia saying to the United States government, the millions of dollars that have been taken by hook or crook by the embassy should be refunded. Now we are saying refund the people's money with interest because it was collected illegally. I'm saying that not just the people who work here in the United States and went back as free slaves or those who were free and forced to leave here. I'm saying that when the United States went to Liberia, it's carried out systematic oppression of people in the country. In my tribe is called Dan, but in Liberia they call it Gil. Gil means to torture, and they branded us by torturing us. And those people lost their land, they lost their lives, they lost their limbs, and they also need to be to get damages paid to them as well. So it's not just the settlers group, but also the indigenous group as well. How do you get it? You got to make a demand. If you don't make a demand, you get nothing. If you have a car and you pay insurance and you get a crash, you don't sit down for the insurance company to come and pay you. You got to make a demand, and that's exactly what we're trying to do right now. Because others are making demand, and as you said, people in this country have made demand for a long time, and they have not gotten anything. How sure am I now that we're going to get it? The times have changed. Right now, President-elect Biden wants to unite and heal America from racism. One of the places he needs to start is the oppressed communities, because it was the oppressed communities that gave him the victory. So times have changed.
Is this something that you're really serious about, or you just want to make a point?
This is something I believe. I believe in miracles. Okay. And I believe this is going to come to pass if there is a demand made. I believe it. I believe it's going to happen sooner than you think.
I too believe in miracles, and there is no mountain too high to climb. But here's my final question.
No, Daniel, before your final question, tell Reverend Crowd that your body here does not believe in miracle. So you guys, myself, we are completely different here. Miracle, it doesn't happen anymore. Go ahead.
Well, Reverend will pray, and maybe the Red Sea is going to part again. But Reverend, my final question here is, all this you're talking about costs money. And in Liberia, they will always tell you that vote will eat. How do you intend to finance this campaign in Liberia?
Well, this campaign in Liberia and here. So we have something called the American Reconciliation Project. You can't separate the two things. The slavery and the oppression that began in America both is fruits in Liberia. You cannot separate the two. Look at the red, white, and blue. Those are not our colors. Those are those are colors of the United States of America. And so, yes, we have people in Liberia who are going to raise money in Liberia for the project in Liberia, but we're also going to have people here to raise money for that effort as well, because this country stands a chance of actually falling apart because of racism and division. The United States is a country that bears a lion's share of humanitarian supply, supporting the World Health Organization, international peacekeeping, disease prevention around the world. If the United States falls, the whole world is going to be crippled. So it is in the interest of the world, it's in the interest of us that we make sure that this division, this seed of division that has been planted in America is uprooted, so that we can sow the new seed of love in this country that is going to germinate and bring forth fruit of unity in this country.
All right, Reverend Crowd, you have made your case. Let me give you some results. We did a poll while the show was ongoing, and we asked the question whether or not Liberians should vote or not vote to protest against the corrupt system. we have, say, 14% that voted that they should vote, and that constitutes 88%, whereas 2% said don't vote, which constitutes 13%. So your argument here, I like it, I enjoy it. The reason I went back and forth with you because I really wanted to learn and get more of what you were trying to explain. But your argument here fell flat today. But you got a long way to go. Your thought.
The question you asked the people
Hmm.
should have been, because I kept telling you, I'm not telling the people not to vote. I'm giving people who are not happy an alternative.
Hmm.
That's the question you should have asked.
Okay.
And I will ask you to invite me again and ask the right question. Ask the people. For 173 years, these people have been voting, but they have no power at all. And this man is saying, you cannot keep doing this thing. He's providing an alternative for people to vote for change instead of voting for politicians. That should be the question. And the answers you get will be different.
And Reverend Crowd, when you come again, I will surely reach out to you. I want us to separate it. Let's talk about how we solve the problem in Liberia, and then we can come back and talk about the Liberia American history as being part of the root of our problem. I would like it, but if we try to talk all the two at the same time, it will kind of get people confused. Dennis,
I agree.
I
I
think,
agree with you.
yeah, I think Dennis, we have accomplished what we came for. We can tell Reverend Crowd so very much for his expose and explanation on the alternative that he's trying to project and explain for our people to bring about a paradigm shift that we desperately need because the system has not worked. I agree with him 100%. I agree with him 100%. The history also has part to play with it, but I just feel that besides the history, we can make the change. Dennis?
Yeah, Reverend, what I want you to end with as your parting statement is on December 8th, people are going to the polls to vote for their representative and also for the referendum. What message do you have for them? Because it's a little convoluted when you say don't vote or vote for the change. People going to vote on Tuesday next week. They have one thing. Should they go and vote in that election? What I'm getting from you is no. Instead, fill out our survey. But you are calling that voting. So that's where it is little murky. Explain that in your closing statement.
Well, I think I want to thank you so much for inviting me to this platform again the second time. And what I have to say is to the people in Liberia, the book of Matthew, chapter 12, verse 33 said, make the tree good, and its fruits will be good. Make the tree corrupt, and its fruits will be corrupt. A tree is known by its fruits. The situation in Liberia is not complicated. There is a name, a label, a brand that does not belong to us. And this system is so corrupt, it has never worked for us. But the system requires your vote to keep going. And it has kept going for 173 years. If you vote, you're going to be putting another 9 years on top of that for it to move on another 9 years. That's 9 years of your life. I think you cannot continue to fuel something that is so destructive. So I'm calling on you to vote for change. We have set up the platform. We have paper ballots. We have online ballots, freeliberia.org. If you are not happy, there's no need for you to continue to vote for the system that is responsible for ritualistic killing of 3-year-old children. It's been going for a very long time. It's not going to stop automatically because it's a seed that was sown a long time ago. It has to be uprooted, and it's going to start with you and your vote. Vote for change. freeliberia.org. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Reverend Kura. And we can't thank you enough. We also want to thank our viewers for staying here with us on this Tuesday. Tomorrow, Wednesday, same time, same place, we're going to be interviewing a former CID and Deputy Police Director because we've just got the pathology report and the police investigative report on the 4 auditors who died in Monrovia. So we're going to invite a forensic investigator and a former CID to weigh in on the report as was read by our Attorney General, Mr. Musa Dane. Mr. CA.
Dennis, thank you. And folks in cyberspace, thank you so very much for always and always following our program here at Focus on Liberia. Let me remind you about our three goals here: to educate, to elevate, and promote all things. Liberia is the business we do, and we do it well here. And forgive me for blowing our horn, but you will agree with me because you see the diversity of program that we are here. You will not find it anywhere. We interview everybody. Hey, we have not gotten into sport, right? Well, give me some time to work on that. My name is Anthony Sie. Dennis Ja and I have a song for you, and that song says we are all Liberian. Whether or not you agree with Reverend Crab, his idea for a paradigm shift, you are a Liberian. If you don't want to vote or you want to keep your vote for the future of Liberia, you are still a Liberian. I am no position. I don't know where Dennis stands. Maybe he's from Dodwaken. But hey, folks, enjoy your song. It's called We Are All Liberian. Bye-bye and thank you. We'll catch you next time.
Peace.
We are Liberian. Liberia is our home. Liberian people.